This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast revisiting television sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between.
This week, Outcasts, episodes 5 and 6.
The one thing I will say is that I don't believe in ghosts, and I know I'm not going insane.
You gonna tell me what it is?
My children are here.
Richard.
Here, Stella. It's not a hallucination. I felt their presence at first, then they're here with me.
If anyone else had told me that.
Exactly, it's me. And I'm not going crazy.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast with a huge diagram trying to sort out the timeline of Carpathia. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
Should we just talk about ghosts instead?
Ghosts.
Continue our conversation from previously.
Well, it's good for this show because
it is.
There's been this like long-running theme of ghosts on the show coming up, and then Jordan got here and says he was staying with his parents and their house is haunted.
Well, I'm not sure, but it could be haunted. There's some weird happenings happening.
My favorite part of the story is I'd heard about this weeks ago, and Jordan was like, "My mom's so crazy; she keeps telling me the house is haunted." And then he spent like 4 nights there by himself, and he's like, "Oh, this house is haunted."
It's just yeah. Anyways, I was safe hiding under the blanket as one does as a.
It's the only way to hide from a ghost.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows if you show any flesh, you can get attacked. But if everything, all toes and all fingers are under that blanket, it's impenetrable.
They can't get you.
Yeah.
Well, on that topic, let's get to our guest this week, who's been sitting here patiently while we talk about ghosts. It's a returning guest, Steve. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks very much. I never talk until I'm introduced. I figure like
You're one of the good guests.
here.
Most of our guests will start talking during the intro.
I like that. I like when I can hear a little something happening off on the side.
You can see them coming. You're not sideswiped when the guest arrives.
That's right. Oh, there's someone sitting there.
Steve, it's been a while. I was trying to think of what you were here last for Langoliers, I think.
Yeah, I think second half of Langoliers, not Immortals. What was those assholes that live on the moon?
Oh, yeah.
Not Eternals. What were their
That's
names?
the new one.
That's the new one. No, it starts with an I.
My
goodness.
Imodium.
Mortals. No, we already agreed that's not it.
I like that I have a file here I could clearly look at, but I really don't want to.
No, we should be able to rationalize this out.
Marvel's Talking Dog. No, it didn't talk. It was just really big. It was too large.
Yes, it didn't talk in the show. It talks in the comic books. Oh my goodness.
Everyone at home is like
just yelling.
Annoyed with us. We've talked about this many times.
What season do we watch it?
Impossibles? Not Eternals.
Not Eternals.
It's an I.
Inhumans.
Inhumans.
I had to look it up.
And of course, Man and Machine.
And Man and Machine.
For
yes.
which I
Your
still
favorite.
light a candle. I put it in my front window every night for Man and Machine.
As Man and Machine's number one fan.
Yeah.
How frustrating must it be for someone listening to people trying to remember something for minutes on
Oh,
end?
they just love it, right? They're just sitting there.
It's 50
Three
it's free.
idiots.
It's free, everyone.
50% of podcasting is thinking about a thing and trying to remember the name of a person or a character.
High quality control here.
Honestly, that's like 70% of my life. Is like, what was that person's name?
It's-
I can't get there.
I'm actually quite happy with myself that I have forgotten it because it was a nightmare in humans. Just terrible.
How many conversations though have you had with people where halfway through the conversation you think, I don't know this person's name. Is it going to come up? Are they going to ask me what their name is? That's my fear at all times. They're going to say, wait a minute, what is my name? And I won't know.
That person's like having a stroke, and they're like, "Oh my God, what's my name, Jordan? Quickly!"
And I go, what's that? Sorry, and then just run away.
Just turn off your hearing aid and be like, "I can't hear you." Well, Steve, this week you've watched Outcasts episodes 5 and 6.
Yes.
This must have been confusing.
You know what? I watched the previously on and immediately was like, I am all in for this show.
Oh, good.
It's got to be a great previously. I haven't watched them because I just don't want to remember. But I imagine just watching that 30 seconds must be like, this show's amazing.
Didn't and understand a goddamn thing, but I was like, I'm all in for this. This looks great. They're somewhere and some things are going on, and the quality is excellent. So
Top quality, absolutely high quality. this
looked
show.
good. Everybody had a British accent.
It has the most whispering of any show we've ever watched.
It's high intensity, low volume.
Yeah, that's right,
For
right.
sure.
Is it safe to assume you've never heard of Outcasts prior to this?
Never recognized everyone. Never seen this show before. Never even heard of it. And it's not like it's old. It's what, 2010?
2011, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went back and then watched a trailer that the BBC put out, and I think maybe the first scene from the first episode was like a special preview.
Okay.
I was hoping I was going to be able to watch 1 through 4 this week and had no time whatsoever. So jumped in full on in episode 5, just having like previously on and next time on experience with the entire first 4 episodes. So
Great. So you're caught up.
I have no idea what's going on still.
Well, we'll see what we can get. We'll see if we can figure it out here, I guess. Because at times I don't know what's going on either. But before we begin, I've got a little game for the two of you to play.
Oh.
Amazing.
I know how you love games.
Well, our last game was unfortunately lost to the sands of time.
Yeah, that's right. So this game, will it exist by the end of this recording? Let's
Possibly.
find out. So this game is a classic game of, I'm going to give you 3 characters, and you're going to decide whether you ask them to be on the general council,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy their memories in a deep brain visualization, or have them executed for diseases that they didn't cause.
Oh, okay. Those are all
Awesome.
good.
So I understand 2 of the 3 of those things
Right.
in relation to this
You
show,
understand
so-
you understand the game, though.
I understand the concept. Yes, I'm down.
Great. Which one did you understand? The brain visualizations? I don't think
Yes,
you saw those.
no, that's not a thing for me in these last
On
2
this
episodes.
show, they have a chair you sit in that lets you remember better.
Outstanding.
From the third person, also.
Oh, wonderful.
It
With
goes into your-
cuts?
It goes into your brain, and
Yeah.
you got to watch your memories. From
They
the
haven't
third
really
person.
explained it, but it's supposed to be. I don't know if it's about accessing memories that you maybe can't really access properly, or it's that it makes it so real to you that it's more than just a memory. It's
Right.
not quite clear, but people seem to enjoy it and or hate it.
So we've got Minority Report type
Yes.
brain visualizations, but no dune buggies
No dune buggies.
and no planes because they don't work.
Yeah, that's brand new
well,
information. and we'll get
there's
into it.
another conversation we should have is that like later on there is a scary absence of vehicles in this.
Yeah,
planet.
which finally I hadn't noticed until they brought it up this episode. I was like, wait a minute, what? But we'll get into it.
Okay,
Let's
all
play
right.
my game.
Okay.
Just to refresh your memories, you're going to ask them to be on the general council with
Yeah.
you. That's a long-term commitment, so keep that in mind.
Okay. It's a life lesson.
You're going to take this one's just real brief. You're going to have a nice short little time where you enjoy their memories in the DBV.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have them executed for things they didn't do.
Awesome.
So first up, your first category is leaders. There's Stella Issen, who runs the Protection and Security Services. There's Julius Berger, religious leader extraordinaire.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, President Richard Tate.
Let me just say right off the bat, all these are such unlikable characters. It's hard to do anything other than what's the like jettisoning them to death? What's the option?
Oh, just execute them.
Just executing them. So I don't know, Steve. What do you think? You're fresh into this.
Okay, so for sure,
Steve is looking literally to print off a list of all the characters so he can remember who they are.
look, Richard Tate, Liam Cunningham, he's Davos Seaworth. You want him on your general council. I don't know if I would have him as president as he is in this show, but
He's more of a mayor.
May I point
Yeah.
out he only has one shirt though, one gray button-up shirt that he wears every episode.
I noticed that again, like weird sci-fi. Like, how do you save money doing a BBC sci-fi show?
Shirts.
Just no ties, no jackets, just a button-up shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, very casual president / mayor of
Yeah.
Fort Haven.
Fort Haven.
Fort Haven, yeah. So definitely Liam Cunningham,
General
Richard
Counsel.
Tate, General Counsel.
Right.
I want him there. Hand of the King. Stella, I'd like to know more about her.
You want to see those deep visualizations?
Those deep visualizations, like to know what's going on. Apparently, she, you will get into it, but like doesn't have a family, wanted a family maybe. I want to know more about Stella.
Yeah, she has a daughter. She works at the bar.
Right, that's right. Yeah, everybody asked
The
her.
only bar in town apparently of this gigantic metropolis. There's only one bar in town that they have to go to where her
And
daughter
all
works.
7 characters who live in the town. come
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
I like the one pickup line is just like, does your mom know you're here? It's like, yeah, I fucking work here and there's nowhere else to be.
We've
so-
all used that line before.
Of course, yeah.
Does your mom know you're here?
And then
Compliment because you look so young and I'm a pedophile.
and then Julius, like, I mean, I love the fact that they've, I guess in Britain, all the villains are American.
Yeah, I think
Because
that's the case.
All the American
only
villains
American, yeah.
have British accents, so they just flip it on his head. So we've got Julius as the villain. Is he British?
No,
actor?
he's an American.
He's an American actor because
He
I
is indeed.
recognize him from Resident Evil.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah,
You
let's.
done great at last week's game that didn't get recorded.
Ah, damn. Yeah, so let's kill that guy because whatever.
Okay, great.
All right, that's me.
I'll just stick with Steve's choices.
You're good with that?
Yeah.
You Tate, Stella, Julius.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, great. Well, let's go on to the next one. It's called Cops. You can either do one of our three options with Cass Cromwell, Fleur Morgan, or Jack Holt, the Expeditionary.
But let me just say, I hate Jack so much at this point.
agreed.
I hate him. He's got to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going. I would say, I don't know if you agree with me. I say Cass, whole pudgy face. I would say he can do his memories, and I got to stick with Fleur. She's one of maybe the only character
She's joining
I like.
your general counsel.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just gonna flip those two. I like Cass. I like that actor.
No, I do too.
He's got a subtle, shocked look all constantly. Just sort of surprised.
I think he's got to get over himself.
I do like the will they won't they of them all.
Yeah, there's
those two. There's
a
a
great
little bit of
scene where
chemistry.
they get lost in the woods and then wake up snuggling each other, and,
Yeah.
and then they get up and they're like, "Well, that was awkward." I'm like, oh my god, stop this.
We'll talk more about it, but their immediate forgetting of apparently some radiation that's on this planet and just running and frolicking in the
In
waves,
the waves, yeah,
in
yeah.
full clothes and presumably
They're just
army
so in
boots.
love that
yeah.
radiation can't affect them.
Yeah.
So I'll keep
You're gonna
him,
flip it.
and then we'll take a look at Fleur's memories.
But Jack's got to go.
Jack is
Everyone
yeah.
agrees.
He's
Yeah.
just I don't understand why he's so young.
That's your problem?
Yeah, that's sort of
Not
my
that he's
problem.
a horrible, horrible, gun-happy monster.
Well, I don't know. I got to learn more about these CGs or what are these?
Oh, they're the XPs, the Expeditionaries.
No, not the XPs. The
ACs.
the
I know.
ACs.
It's a problem that everything's got a short
yeah.
form.
Steve, the altered cultivars? You didn't
is-
know what
is that
altered
what
cultivars were?
No,
Speaking of short forms, I was speaking to someone on Friday night, and they used the short form of B's and C.
B's and C's. Oh, okay.
Jordan is
Pointing.
currently pointing down at his groin area.
Anyways,
To his bait and tackle. B's and T's.
that's B's and T's, yeah.
Right.
But anyways, I'd never heard that before.
No.
I've also never heard that before.
Yeah.
Also, this person doesn't sound like a person you should have a conversation with.
It was at work.
Hence the short forms. All right.
Yeah, it's a long story.
And this final one is unfortunately Jordan only.
Oh, okay.
Yikes.
Because, Steve, you did not get to interact with these characters in these episodes. But this category is called Others.
Okay.
We've got Tipper Malone, child genius / drug addict or drug dealer
/
radio DJ.
Yeah.
Then there's Rudy, leader of the ACs.
Yeah.
By default, being the only AC who has the
Has
ability
dialogue.
to
Yeah.
talk. And of course, Lily Isin, Stella Isin's daughter.
I don't like Lily. Don't like her at all. You know what? Hope she slips in that bar and cracks her head open. And she's gonna go into I'm sending her up into the wilderness or whatever it is.
She's getting executed.
Yeah, yeah. I guess by Jack because he's terrible too. And then Rudy. You know what? I'm gonna put him on the council just because the ACs have had a real rough time, and also I do not want to hear him talk about his memories. And then who was the other option?
That would be your last one, Tipper Malone.
Yeah, I'll get Tipper. I get to see him frolic with his sisters again. In his memories. That was his memory. He's like, I want to dance with my sisters again from a third-person perspective.
That sounds
That's his
terrible.
voice. He doesn't sound like that at all.
Yeah.
He's Irish.
He also
but-
had like 17 sisters because he's Irish.
Yeah.
Oh, right, of course.
You know.
Before the famine.
Before the famine, yes. They don't specify, but that's the implied what happened on Earth.
Yeah.
No,
Only in Ireland.
I did see some of these people, so because I think Tipper was the other one that asked.
He has a short scene, I think.
Yeah, he asked Lily if her mom
You didn't
knows.
see them all. You kind of meet them all at the bar.
Yeah.
Do you want in on this?
I do want in on this because, I would put Tipper. I like Tipper's Good Morning Vietnam radio show. In episode
you're
6.
the only one.
Yeah, just me.
That apparently is the only station and show on this planet.
But he's pirate radio.
Yeah.
He is
he's
pirate,
fighting
yeah.
the man.
Yeah.
He is big
Despite the
time.
man giving him all.
he has the
famous-
monopoly,
yeah.
but yes.
I do like that at some point because that is his whole thing is he's always fighting the man. And I think at the end of the episode he's just like, you know what? People might disagree with the president this week, but I really agree with his decisions. And I'm like, way to fight the man, Tipper.
I think I got the best of Rudy. It sounds like because I just saw him in the
Background.
background and or in an open field kind of in the foreground, and there were rocks in the background.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know more about.
He's
Rudy.
always like, "Oh, woe is me! They tried to kill me because I'm a genetically modified person,
Yeah.
and then they sent me off to the desert, and we don't have chairs."
It's tough.
You know?
Yeah.
All right. So he's your.
I'd like to see
he's
his
your,
background.
He's your DBV.
I want to know more about the
Yeah.
AG, T and D's,
ACs.
T and B's,
Great.
bait and tackles, B's and T's.
You want to know about that B and T on that AC?
That's right.
Jesus. And then, of course, I guess that means you're executing Lily Isson just like Jordan.
Oh yeah, fuck that girl. What's
Yeah.
she for?
Oh, dear. Lily, no love.
No love for Lily.
Well, what a great game, you guys.
Mhm.
we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, it was fast too.
very, very fast.
It was only about 45 minutes.
It's because we had the character names in front of us.
Yeah,
That's
we
why it
could
made it
really
easy.
investigate them, think about them. All right. Let's get into it. Here's the IMDb summary for episode 5. An early settler of Carpathia, long believed dead, returns to Fort Haven. Cass and Flora follow him into the dangerous, unexplored territory. Berger's influence continues to grow, and Tate believes that his dead children have returned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. Can I say that Carpathia has terrible security for having 2 separate essential security services?
Fort Haven? Yeah.
What did I say?
You said
Carpathia.
Carpathia, but it's the same thing.
Yeah,
Fort
generally,
Haven.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Anyone can get in, which is what happens at the beginning of this episode.
Here's the thing is they set this up on this show being like, nobody leaves. We keep everybody in here. Like, it's a very tight security. But in the intervening episodes, people are just wandering in and out. I believe at one point, this one woman's going to be like, I take my kids on picnics for my birthday
Yeah.
all the time. And I'm just like, all right, so the security here is actually not very good.
Yeah, well, because they in this pilot, and I think maybe there was a little bit of retconning to make the show fit what they wanted to, was that they implied, if not explicitly said, that only the XPs go out.
Right.
And that's why people sort of like, they were at one point this sort of revered, somewhat military guard that would go out and explore, and they were the only ones who were brave enough to do it. And so everyone sort of revered them, and now things have kind of, their popularity has kind of dwindled a little bit over time. But yeah, now it's like everyone's going out all the time. I mean, a couple episodes, Tate went out just to sit by a lake.
This will come up later in the episode, but like at some point, someone finds something valuable out in the wilderness, and what we hear, because we never get to see anything in the show, they only tell us about it. But someone will like say, it's like, hey, all of the people of Fort Haven are now wandering around outside looking for diamonds. And I'm just like, all of the people are now just like, there's no, like, I'm like, so you guys have given up.
Again, and when you see the city, Luke has mentioned this several times, and it is a problem of the show, which is they have a pretty decent sized cast, but because they want to give this impression of how large the city is, which you see sometimes those matte, not matte paintings, but those shots, this
big wides of the city.
big wides of the city. It's a huge city, but it doesn't ever feel like that.
No, it's not filled with any people.
No,
it's very empty.
There's a few backgrounds walking around, but it
Yeah.
almost feels more like a colony that has just been established, and there's just sort of like tents, but it's not that at all. It's not a refugee camp. It's a active metropolis.
Yeah, and the AG army is made up of what? 3 people?
The XPs,
4 people?
yeah,
the
the-
XP,
the
not the XPs, the other guys.
Oh, the pass protection and security. Yeah, it's
just everybody.
Oh yeah, they're
every team.
PACs. Forgot to say that.
Yeah.
what is that?
There's the ACs. There's the
ACs.
XPs. The PACs.
PAS.
PAS.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. You're right.
Every
There's supposed to
team
be a
is 4
huge team,
people.
but it's just Fleur and Cassick or whatever.
And their boss.
And they do everything.
And the chief.
And the chief. Yeah.
Stella.
Yeah. Who let me just say, in the second episode, she's in every scene, and scenes that don't make sense because she's in 2 rooms at once. I'm just saying. There's scenes where like she's talking to one person, they cut to another
We
scene, and
ju-
she's in both rooms. I'm like, what?
We joked about it last episode that she, like, anytime any science needs to be done, they need to bring her in. They literally, in the next episode, they're literally like, oh, Stella, you're a doctor who does medicine. You do all of our biology work. Like, they just start talking about how she does everything. I'm just like, so you guys realize this is insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, this episode starts off with the latest in ghost news in that President Tate apparently has accepted the fact that his ghost children have returned to him and that he is not insane. And not only has he accepted that, he's teaching them to play chess.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're going for is that he has turned a corner in that he doesn't think it's in his head anymore.
Mhm.
But I think he is trying to, in a weird way, maybe a subtle way, trying to figure out what this is. Because I think he even says he doesn't think it's his children. He thinks it's something, but he's trying to figure it out, and how that's manifesting it is he's playing chess with them for
Yes,
some
he's
reason.
teaching them chess. And then what I like is Stella comes to visit him and then goes and sits in the chair where his ghost child was clearly playing chess. And I was
Just a second ago.
I really wanted to be like, oh, wait, don't sit there.
I
You just
thought
killed them.
I thought he was gonna say they're right beside you.
It does feel like they're missing, like they don't lean enough into like some spooks where they really could. I feel like.
Yeah, but that's not what this show is, right?
No, it's
this show
not.
is, and you said it, I think, at the beginning. This show is all tell and no show. So you're gonna, and especially it frustrated me in the next episode where there's like a doppelganger thing, which we're talking about, but it's like they don't have any of those scenes you think are gonna happen. And people are like, "Can you believe that crazy stuff that just happened off screen?"
Yeah, well, even here, when Stella comes in, the president just is like, "Hey, listen, I gotta tell you, seeing my ghost children everywhere. I know you're not gonna believe me, but they're here." And like, it's really just like they're like, "We're not gonna spend any more time on this." It's like,
Yeah.
ghosts exist. He's telling you right now. Let's move on.
Right, yeah. There's not going to, they haven't set up like a conflict where he now is like, Stella doesn't believe him or thinks he's maybe not competent to run the city or the country.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. She's just like, okay, agree to disagree.
Yeah, it's more of like a little bit of a Mulder and Scully. Like,
Yeah.
I think you might be wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah, we're still going to go to lunch together.
I walked into episode 5 having a lot of questions,
Yes.
as one might,
Yes.
and expected that some of the characters would have answers.
No, they don't have answers for anything on the show.
No answers for anything, only more questions.
Yeah, that's this show. That's what this
I
show
believe-
has. It's all about throwing, like juggling balls in the air, but none of the balls they're juggling are particularly interesting.
Right. B's and C's.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to hear your questions because I bet you we don't have answers to them because the show never answers a single question.
Well, let's go. Question number 1: did his children die on Carpathia?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
Hey, look at that. You look like a liar
I
now.
am a
We
liar.
have one
They died
answer.
of C23?
C23, the disease that gives children a halo before they die.
Like an angel halo.
Well, we don't know. They never showed us. They just
Oh,
told
of course.
us.
Right. They just told you about it. Yes. All right. So that makes sense. We got one.
We got one down.
There you go.
All right, but the real plot of this episode is that a mysterious hooded figure has arrived in Fort Haven during a storm. He goes to the bar where everyone hangs out, real cheers, and
Oh, I wish this was Cheers.
he's very annoyed that he can't buy a whiskey for 2 reasons. He can't buy a whiskey. One, there's no whiskey.
That is always a problem.
But then they
so I
put
got
a-
2 reasons I can't give it to you. First, there is none. It's like I don't think I need a second reason.
They still put a jug in front of him at the end.
I
Though.
know, I
Like,
didn't
what are they giving him?
understand.
No, I think they were. I think what they were trying to imply again, this show is everything is so quiet and so understated to a fault that he wanted Scotch whiskey and they only had Irish whiskey. They only had like a or like a bourbon whiskey.
Right.
That's what I think they were trying to imply.
They just don't have
but
a lot of selection.
Yeah, they don't have a large selection. But what it means sound like we don't have any. It's like, what about that bottle over there? Like, oh yeah, we have that bottle. It's just not the exact year you picked.
And the other problem is he doesn't have his red card and ID.
Which is the first time we've seen anything about how the economy works in this place.
Okay, so
we've seen nothing about how anyone gets paid, how the economy works, how
And to be fair, it hasn't been an issue up till
No.
now. But this episode throws stark relief into how it makes no sense now.
well let's just talk a little bit about it if that's okay, because what we're gonna find real quick is that he wants his drink. He's like, oh, I don't have my pass, do I? And he sort of just like an old western, just like pounds money on the counter, but what the money is, it's diamonds, like huge diamonds,
Like
and there's dozens
100
and
of
dozens.
them.
Yeah. So
Pre-cut.
And
Well,
so
that's the thing. They're not even raw
Spence- I know.
diamonds.
Yeah.
They're cut diamonds. He's
Well-
got a whole bag of
Well, what
them.
we're going to learn is I think people don't understand how diamonds work, but I think what they're implying, and I'm going to give the credit to the show, is that we're going to find out they are sort of discovered near water, and I think the water is slowly wearing them down to a rounder shape. I'm going to give them that.
okay.
I don't think that would work that way, but I'll allow it.
Natural rock.
Yes.
Rock.
They were naturally cut
rolling.
to look like
yeah,
a jeweler.
like there's this a rock erosion that has happened because of the water. I
Right.
don't think that's how it works with diamonds,
No.
but I'll allow
You're
it.
going to allow it.
Yeah. So, but my point is, there's, I think, a turn here they don't want to take, which is, I don't know how interesting it is for a viewer to hear about the economy of this place, but there is something about human nature and greed and the disparity between classes that you would think this show would want to at least dip its toe into, but it doesn't really want to, which is fine.
Well, this is the
but
episode it attempts to.
Well, but it's weird because it seems like they want to raise it but not really talk about it. So it's like, well, don't even make it a thing then. Don't have made diamonds a thing, or have seeded it somewhere along the way that there is disparity in this place that is maybe being quashed by Tate, or I don't know. I think there's just something interesting here that they don't want to bother with for some reason.
The issue is, and Steve, you can see how you feel about this, but up till now, there's been no discussion of the economy. It feels mostly like an egalitarian society where everyone has a role and they're just trying to make it and survive. Like that seems like there's
Yes, I'd agree.
no stark poverty differences. There's been no indication, which is fine. Maybe there is. But
There
they're
isn't
saving
even
it.
there's hints of political posturing or that, but they don't really get into that. Everyone seems quite fine with Tate as president.
And the idea that because that's at this point they say, "Where's your red card?" And at which point I'm like, best case scenario, it's a debit card and everyone gets paid and you got a debit card. I felt it was probably more likely to be like a ration card of some sort.
Yeah, I thought it's the same.
But basically, because this man dumps these diamonds out, essentially it kicks off this mania that we're told, because we don't get to see it, but we're told in Fort Haven, everyone goes diamond crazy. They all want to get this wealthy diamonds, but
it's like,
diamonds
but
have
why?
no intrinsic value.
That's what I mean. It doesn't make sense on this planet. And you would think all they had to do was figure out a way to explain why it would have value, thus how their society is set up. But they just go it's like anything. If it was gold or any sort of precious metal or anything, it doesn't matter because they're not on Earth anymore.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
And it's not like he came in with 3 of them and they're like, oh, I got to have one of those 3. He came in with 100.
Yeah, he's just these are worthless,
so
by the way.
they look worthless. But it's just a problem the show has all along. And I think this puts in the most stark relief is that somewhere when they're beating out this show, they're like, oh, we need a show where they have to deal with the idea of greed on this planet. And they're like, oh, well, the only thing more valuable than anywhere is diamonds. Everybody knows that. But it's just as soon as it happens, you're just it doesn't feel authentic. It feels just like someone in a room was just what's valuable? I don't know, diamonds? That's what it feels like.
Coming in episode 5, I thought, I've got nothing previous. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is British Star Galactica. There's shit going on here. So when they brought these diamonds out, I thought, okay, they're going to run batteries or they're going to run the dune buggies or they were going to have some import, right? And then nothing. They were just trading them and threatening Lily and beating her up
robbing people for
in an
diamonds
alleyway
for no reason.
For nothing. They're just trading it for wine and...
Well, I was talking about this, too, with Melanie when I was pulling clips for the episode, and she's just well, do the diamonds, run machinery or something? No, they have nothing. They don't have no purpose.
And
they're shiny baubles.
And no one knows, we'll say again, let's say even everyone decides they are worth something. Worth what? We don't know. How many diamonds does it take for a whiskey? How many diamonds does it take to get your tire fixed? We don't know. It just... diamonds.
People go crazy for diamonds, and the only reason that is really there is because they want this greed to spread through Fort Haven so that our evil Julius can try to exploit it in a way throughout the episode he's giving sermons on the radio being don't give in to greed is bad, don't turn on each other, and then 2 characters have to step aside and look at the camera basically and be have you noticed how he keeps saying diamonds are bad? It's because he means diamonds are good, and he's using reverse psychology to make everyone crazy. And I'm just oh my God, is that what I was supposed to get out of this?
I mean, he could have, this drifter guy could have walked in with seeds or eggs.
You're exactly right.
Or anything that
they
has...
have no meat in this town.
Yeah.
They have had trouble making crops. There's a problem with making babies. There's a million things they actually need that are not diamonds.
Right.
Let me just say, though, aside from anything else, this guy who we're going to learn his name is Pack, P-A-K. He's played by Gary Lewis, is a really good actor who's, I think people like Billy Elliot and Gangs of New York, he's doing a bunch of stuff. And he's really given much more than this role is
he's working hard.
Is allowed. He's working hard, and he's a great actor, and so he's really watchable. But it's man, he's got to do a lot in his cloak and dagger sort of thing he's got going.
He basically just says, follow me for, I think, 20 of his lines.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Follow me.
Yeah,
Follow
and
me.
it's and you're also why? It has that thing that drives me crazy. You're going to get a scene where characters are going to follow him for a long time, but why don't you just tell them where you're going? Because it's not like there's a trap. It's hey, come this way. Can you tell me why? Nope. Why? Reasons.
Got to filter it out over now.
Yeah, because we just need it to go over now.
All right, we'll talk about Pack in 1 second. I just realized, though, because you were just talking about what value diamonds have, and I actually finally realized how they make sense in this world. Because there is a shortage of children. They're having trouble making babies here. Mm-hmm. And it's because no one can get married, so no one's having sex because they can't get married. So now that they have diamonds, people can finally start proposing to each other, and the population shortage is solved.
That's it. You solved it.
Oh, now it all makes sense to me.
There seems to be some sort of disconnect between what people see and what is really happening, right? So Liam Cunningham is seeing his kids. Mm-hmm. We'll get some other kind of visions going on.
More ghosts come this episode.
Yeah, ghosts and just stuff going on. So why not have him dump teeth? or dirt or something on the bar, but then everybody sees it as diamonds.
Well, it could have been, not to belabor this, but it could have been anything that would have added to what they seeded. It could have been he has something that is related to embryos, and they have a real problem making babies. He brought a clone device that's going to help them with their meat production in livestock or whatever. It could mean anything that makes sense for a society that is struggling to establish itself. And
Right.
diamonds don't do that unless you had some sort of colonial power that was abusing them to take said diamonds for their own wealth. But that's not what this is.
Even if it was salt. Like, they didn't have enough
Yeah.
salt,
Yeah.
right? And like,
Well, that's, I mean, like, history's already told you many ways you can do this.
yeah.
And Steve, I think you might be onto something. I think later we'll find out they're not actually diamonds. They're just some sort of manifestation of this like supernatural property. I think you might be onto something there, but
Right.
we don't get that. In this
Well, we're
episode.
onto a lot more than the writers are. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back. Let's talk about this character, Pac, who shows up in town. This is, of course, short for what Pac is always short for. Patrick Baxter.
who I should say, I was like, Patrick Baxter, and then I realized that's the name of the person from the previous episode that there's no way you would track this as a normal
They name
viewer.
dropped it for half a second.
They just you're like, hey, look, there's a statue to Patrick Baxter. Anyways, let's keep moving. Like, it was like that, and I was like, wait a minute. Is that a name I've heard before? And I went and looked back at my notes. But yes, so I think as a viewer, they're hoping that you are going to have tracked that. And when you hear he's Patrick Baxter, you realize he's the first person, as
to
history has
land
told him,
on Carpathia.
to land it on Carpathia.
Okay, so they've been on this planet long enough to fucking build statues?
It's the timeline is starting to make no sense.
But again, not dune buggies,
Not doom buggies.
but statues.
And I will admit,
did it all by hand.
once more I was wrong, because I think last episode I said we'll never hear about this Patrick Baxter character.
No,
again.
I know. That's what I thought.
Next episode, all about Patrick Baxter.
That's
Or
one
Pac,
of the
if you
problem
will.
is that everything is sort of done as an aside, and you don't know what you should or shouldn't pay attention to in this show, because it could simply be I guess I'll put this note in my pocket. I'm like, is that important? I don't know.
Yeah.
Were they playing for the long game? Were they hoping for 17 seasons?
Yeah, I think
this
that
the
is
new
the
Doctor
case.
Who?
Yeah, I think that is the case.
Okay.
What we do learn new about Pac this episode is 11 years ago, he killed his commanding officer,
Allegedly.
allegedly, jumped in some sort of plane or flying device, attempted to fly away after killing him, but because apparently on Carpathia, flying is impossible, his plane immediately crashed and everyone just assumed he died in a fiery wreck, but no one bothered to go look.
There was a fireball.
Yeah, well, they were just like, they're like, did anyone check? He's like, it was a fireball. They're like, but did anyone check? I said fireball. Like, okay, point made.
Yeah. And I mean, I have so many questions about this throw, and it's like, oh, how no one can fly on this planet. I'm just like, the laws of flight do not work on this planet, but you're not going to go into further detail.
Yeah.
Well, all they've introduced is that this planet has very odd weather patterns, which are whiteouts, they call them,
Yes, they get like a dust storm will fly up.
that
Okay.
are maybe electricity based, maybe.
And
So-
there was something about, I saw in the
It's clearly
opening,
wind.
Yeah.
getting into the planet, like landing on the planet is difficult? Is that my
Yeah,
understanding?
it's difficult to land on the planet. Planes tend to crash as they come in.
Right.
Like the
Starships.
landing craft, starships,
Right,
yes,
right.
if you will. I call them space planes. but-
Space planes, yes. NASA's original choice.
SPs?
But yes, so there is apparently some issue with the concept of flying on Carpathia.
I love that, though. They're just like, oh, we needed his ship to have crashed. Yeah, there's problems with flying. You're like, is that a thing we're going to need to know? Or is that just you couldn't think of any other reason that maybe he lost control and crashed, or we saw him fly away and never saw him again? It doesn't matter if we saw him crash. Like, they just have to add this thing in which maybe will be something.
Well, and maybe that's why the spaceships can't land. But it's never, no one ever says anything out loud or is explicit about what they mean. So you're constantly just like, so no, there's no flight on this planet.
According to the trivia, he originally got into a hot air balloon that exploded. So-
I know someone who has a license to be a hot air balloon pilot.
Oh, so we
Outstanding.
should do a podcast on one of his hot air balloons.
Yeah.
Should not be called a pilot, but I'm.
Well, I don't know
I'm
if it's a pilot. They told me they have I don't know.
operator.
Yeah, they're an They've got any something. Anyways,
How hard could that be?
yeah, they made a mistake of telling me that, so I ask about it all the time. But anyways, regardless,
Listen, you got to pull to go up
yeah, that's
and also pull to go down. I don't understand
how much could it be?
That is true.
Yeah.
Which one do you pull?
Yeah, I pulled the wrong one
We went up more.
at a very slow speed.
God damn it! Hot air balloons don't work on this planet.
But this is Pac, basically. He's a man who everyone thought was dead, but is back with a bunch of diamonds to throw around.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, after he shows off his diamonds at the bar, all the XPs in the bar decide they want to fight him for his diamonds.
Yeah, he's sort of, I think, kind of, he's like, I'm a tough guy. And they're like, you think you're a tough guy, we're tougher. And then he sort of like beats them all up one in a row. And I thought, is this going to be because he has like superpowers?
Mhm.
But it's like, no, he's just He's just tough.
Yeah.
Just a real tough dude.
Just a real
Well,
tough
the
dude.
XPs just walk around. They don't have to fight anybody or anything. They're just
That's true. They're just wanderers.
They're like, I'll fight you, but please do not give me any dialogue while it's happening.
But because of this, the cops get called, protection and security. And Cass and Flora put in the case, and they follow Pac as Pac leaves the bar, runs off into the wilderness. They chase him off in there, and they're like wander around for like a night and a day or whatever. Like there's the scene we mentioned where they snuggle at night. And they're
If
like,
I
"Oh,
was
can't believe
Stella, I would separate Cass and Fleur because every mission, they suck. I'm just saying, I would separate. I'm like, you two
They're
are
the
not
only
good
two
partners.
officers, apparently.
Yeah.
one is one protect and one is serve.
Yeah, one's protected, one is served. That's their nickname.
Then their spin-off, that's what it's called.
And basically what Pac is just like, hey, you follow me for a while. I'll show you where those diamonds are. And they're not that interested in diamonds. He's like, well, you don't like diamonds. You guys are cops, though, right? I'll show you where there's a bunch of bodies. How would you like that? And they're like, now you've got us. We'll follow you anywhere to see a bunch of dead bodies. It's that movie with Will Wheaton.
Oh, it's
The body.
Yeah,
Stand by
yeah.
me.
Stand by me.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll show you a dead body. And they're like, okay.
only that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, only that's it. And the whole thing is that they go for a walk. They bump into some ACs who won't let them pass, but because Pac has been out here for 1 billion years, they trust Pac. So like, oh, if they're with you, no problem.
And that's the largest crowd we see in
yeah.
the entire show. There's
Yeah.
like 12 people in that mob.
And let me just say, and I don't know if you felt the same way. Did you think he was going to be a similar character from Earth 2 from what's his face? It? What's his face?
It. That's his name.
You
It.
know, oh god, it's one of these again.
From It and
John Ritter?
no, and
Tim Curry?
Tim Curry. There
Oh,
you go.
wow.
Tim
on
Curry.
Earth 2?
I thought,
Yeah,
yeah,
Tim
on Earth
Curry's
2.
great.
Who was
He's
the
great.
best thing of Earth 2. I thought maybe he was going to become this sort of
Trickster figure.
Yeah, but he's not.
No,
So I went with John Ritter because I didn't think Tim Curry would be affiliated with Earth 2, and man, am I shocked.
He brought his A game and raised the profile of that show that they once he left, it really dropped off.
Oh, wow.
Really showed the flaws.
Outstanding.
At any rate, that's not what his character is. He is as he tells them, he's listened to his body, and this is his last trip. So he's on some sort of death march with them.
Is his let's just take outside of this plot, him as a character, did he went, I'm going to walk into town mysteriously. I'm going to give people diamonds. Which is
Gonna get
going
some
to
whiskey.
make people want to fight me. I'm going to fight them knowing that the police are going to come, and then I'm going to take the police on a journey because I know I am dying. Is that what his plan is?
I think he's trying to get
Sort of.
a man and a woman. He refers to them as Adam and Eve,
Oh,
right?
he does, and he does call it paradise because
He's
he
like-
wants to bring them to the ocean, to the beach, and they never go. What we discover is they never leave Fort Haven because the rest of the world is so badly irradiated you can't walk outside.
And
Or-
you're learning that as well this
Yeah,
episode?
this is brand new
Okay.
information.
Or it's not irradiated and their mechanics and machinery has been told that there is radiation
Right,
and
right.
they don't it's not actually for reasons, but I don't know if that's the case. But I thought at one point, I'm like, are we going to find that Tate has done another thing where
Lied
he
to
has
them.
lied to them because there's a reason? But we don't. Again, no one will say
Well,
that, so
And
we
it's
don't know.
pockets, too. It's not, it's areas. It's a no-go zone.
Yeah.
And then when they're walking out there, Jack has like a
There's a Geiger
EKG
counter that comes
meter.
out.
Yeah, a Geiger counter. And it's like, oh, no,
We
don't
can't
go
go
left.
this
We
way.
go right.
Well, and Pac at some point says he knows where to walk to avoid the radiation, implying it's real because the planet tells him. And
But they also say that the ocean is heavily irradiated, and he's like, "Oh, you guys haven't been here long enough to understand.
Yeah.
I'm still taking you to the lake."
yeah.
So I don't know, or ocean, or wherever it
The
is.
ocean, yeah. It is confusing. There's some implications. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There's now also implications that, much like Earth 2, the planet is alive and sentient.
Of
That's-
some, and maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
In some
Or
potential
there's something
way.
on it.
Yeah, that's the way it seems to be going. At any rate, as they do this long walk over the course of the hour, he explains his whole story about how he's actually the second person to land on Carpathia. The first person who was sent down was an AC, who obviously, as we know, not you, Steve, but Jordan and I know, they are less than human, so no one talks about them like they're human, even though
Right.
they look identical to humans. But there was an AC that was there first, who's technically the first person there. Did you catch that AC's name?
Was it Teddy? No.
No, I did. I wrote it down.
It was Tigger 99.
That's
Right,
right.
yes,
That's right.
yes.
Yeah. Tigger 99.
Tigger 99 was, in fact, the first person down there. And when he didn't immediately die, Pac was essentially the second person down 20 minutes later to land on the planet. And that's why everyone celebrates him, because he's the first non-AC to land there.
Right.
And then sometime after that 20 minutes, Tigger 99 apparently they forgot to update his immune system, quote unquote, and he immediately died of a cold.
Yeah, that's...
But Luke, let me ask you, you're better at this than I am. Does this timeline make sense?
What I'm hearing now is a ship came, a very initial explorers came, and there was humans on it and ACs. And ACs are like essentially canaries. They send a canary down, canary doesn't die. They send a human down to see if that human dies. Pack is that human. Why Tigger 99 then immediately died of a cold, unrelated cold, unrelated to anything on this planet. And then Pack says, so they left me on the planet. But I'm like, they didn't leave you forever because clearly you set up a colony here, but they don't give any more information. They're just like, but he's like, so all he says is they left me on the planet. And then we're supposed to infer from that whenever they came down, he then did or did not kill his superior officer for leaving him there. It's not clear.
Yeah,
they
don't
never specify.
Right.
And they never give any indication that he's crazy.
But they do clearly indicate, because he's like, here's my escape or the ejector seat on the plane I jumped out of. So I definitely did get in a plane at some point and fly away and explode into a fireball, but also not die. And he's just like, when I crash landed, I broke both of my legs. And the only reason I survived is because a talking golden retriever came out of the woods and brought me the things I needed to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Did he say it was talking?
He said it talked to him.
It said it told him.
He heavily implies it talked to him.
I think PNC, protection sir, PNS, tell him. They're like, oh, it talked to you, and he's like, no, it told me.
Yeah,
me.
I didn't think it was like they didn't put the old peanut butter in its mouth to get him to talk or anything.
Well, and we'll see right at the very end, just before Pac dies, the golden retriever will only materialize to him. Like he'll walk with the golden retriever down the beach, no one else can see it.
Well, it pops up at the end of the episode once he's dead.
But it also walks with him too there. But I don't think anyone sees it.
Yes.
Nobody sees it. No. Well, he sees it.
Which is they're adding to this very nebulous thing they've set up, which is the, let's say, for lack of a better term, ghosts that we're getting in this world or whatever manifestation this is. That yes, so Tate was seeing his children as whatever they are, but even if like someone was there, they wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah, they're invisible to them.
It's an apparition, but different than the poltergeist at your parents' house.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone can see that.
Everyone can hear it.
Everyone can hear that one.
They're noisy ghosts.
Uh-huh. It was unpleasant.
Yours have a lot more unfinished business. Anyway, they finally finish their journey. They get to this beach at the ocean, which they discover the ocean sand is just covered in diamonds. Like apparently the ocean is just full of perfectly cut diamonds.
It's either that the diamonds are closely under the sand and the water is washing them up, or they're actually coming out of the
Water, yeah. That's what I was
not clear.
thinking.
Either way, they're valueless now because there are millions of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And when Cass and Floor see the ocean for the first time, they get so
They
excited.
go nuts.
Oh, my God.
They run straight into the ocean, and they're just frolicking in the ocean.
Yeah.
Steve, you don't know this, but literally in episode 1, Cass and Floor leave Fort Haven for the first time and find a lake and have no reaction to that lake. It's the first lake they've ever seen on this planet. Right. They have no reaction. And then they see the ocean and lose their minds.
Wow.
It's the waves that does it, I think. I think the waves...
The waves and the smell. Of this. They were
really
really happy about the smell.
It's that fresh diamond smell that really hit them.
It's very odd. I guess... Did he grow up on the ocean? Is he from Scarborough or something?
The scene reminded me a lot of that scene from Rocky from Rocky 2 where Apollo and Rocky run in the water. That's what it reminded me of.
It was just they're just so excited to see the ocean, but whatever, it's fine. It's that exciting. Anyway,
actually, I think it's Rocky 3. I made a huge mistake. Anyways.
Isn't it Rocky 4?
No, I think it's Rocky 3. Sorry, everyone.
They see the ocean. They're very excited. Pac's like, well, I know I brought you here. I promised I'd show you some bodies, but actually I'm just going to go walk into the ocean and drop dead
and die
now.
I love
immediately.
that. Hey, guys, I know I promised you some bodies, but we've come all this way.
Well, I thought he was the body.
Yeah,
I thought like he knew
sure
that
was
was
wouldn't
gonna
that be
die.
terrible? He's like, I know I promised you something. Anyways, pulls his pants down. You're like, oh man, I fell for that one again.
Twist.
But yes, Pac just walks into the ocean and drops dead once he gets there. As promised, his body told him he was going to die, and he does. And we kind of can cut back now because Floor and Cass are now stuck. They have no idea how to get home. They're just at this beach.
I know. They're like, we don't know how to get back. I'm like, you guys must know how to get back.
They didn't pay any attention.
Like
to
you
the
didn't
journey.
pay any attention on the way. That's what I would have been thinking the whole time. It's like, okay, start looking for some signposts. Start thinking about how you're going to have to escape at some point because in some way they're getting back, either with him as a prisoner or him dead. They got to get back. So why would you not think about it?
Okay, question number 2.
All right.
They are shockingly afraid of the tide coming in.
Yeah,
Now,
later in this episode, they start freaking out over the tide coming in. I don't know why.
Okay, because there are 2 moons. I saw 2 moons, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe the tide is real fucking high at this planet.
No,
But-
they're very upset about the tide coming in later. No apparent reason.
It's just
Okay.
because it's a mechanism of the plot is they need to leave the area.
Yeah.
So they're like,
they need to leave. It's like,
they're like, oh, yeah, the
tide's
water's
coming
bad.
in.
They're
That's
like
all.
worried the beach is going to disappear and never come back.
I know, it's like, the tide might come in. We might get our ankles wet.
Yeah.
a
We're
little
just
bit.
running in the ocean.
Yeah.
Have you ever had wet shoes? It's unpleasant.
We just tried it. We didn't like it.
we gotta get out of here.
Let's go back to Fort Haven quickly because
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah.
unfortunately we do. We mentioned how the evil pastor Julius has turned the city crazy for diamonds.
And let me just say again, I think maybe my least favorite thing in the show is not him as a character or even the idea of this person posing as a religious figure that's also doing this nefarious things on the side and using people's hopes against them, sort of thing. But it's just that it's so poorly written.
It's
and
a
even
cartoon.
And he's a cartoon. Even his speeches where they're like, they'll have him do a prayer or whatever. I'm like, these are terrible. No one would be convinced by this because they've given no effort. He's like, and let's all pray to the
Universal spirit.
the universal spirit that we're not going to be bad. Ugh, I'm a real divisive figure. It's like, well, it's not. He's not charismatic at all because they haven't given him that charisma.
Right.
You as a viewer don't believe that he would be pulling people in any direction because they don't give him anything.
Yeah.
You're not down with like the midnight mass of it all. It's
Yeah,
just-
exactly.
It's not selling for you.
It's not selling.
Yeah.
But apparently he's been using the diamonds to drum up all his greed because
Which we don't see.
which you don't see because he's going to corner the president and say, "Hey, I think you should give me the public welfare portfolio on the general council." To which the president says, "That's not a portfolio." He's like, "Yes, let's make one up for me, please."
Right.
And then as soon as the president, for reasons that make no sense, agrees to it. Like, there's no reason the president would ever agree to this because he doesn't trust this man. But he's like, "Sure, that's your new portfolio." He turns around and Julius is like, "Oh, FYI, I added religion to the education portfolio too because that's part of my portfolio now, I decided." And the president, I think he literally says, President Tate literally says, he's like, "I knew from the second you got here that you were out to get me. From the moment you arrived." And I was just like, then why did you give him unlimited? Did you just keep giving him more and more responsibility and power?
But that's the thing because they keep implying that he is a powerful figure and that if you push him down in any way, his people will revolt against you. But we haven't seen that.
Well, all 6 people, like they can do a lot of damage.
That's what I mean.
Right?
It's like because they visually don't really show it and they don't give you any scenes with that because they don't want to have him actually interact with any other people other than Tate, it doesn't land at all. So it's just like it just becomes these weird scenes where he keeps cornering him in the hallway and they want to have this real tension between these two arguably good actors, but the material is not helping them at all.
Yeah, we never see Julius gain any power. All we see is Julius say, "Hey, President, can I have some power, please?" And the president's like, "I don't trust you, but okay, don't do anything bad."
Well, you would think so. Walking in, 5th episode, talking about the council. Can I
Yeah,
be
yeah.
on the council? No, you can't. You need 2/3 majority of the council. You think you would see the council?
Yeah.
You think there would be
Never
4 people
seen them.
sitting at a
Never
long
seen
table?
them.
Don't see it. Never fucking happens, and I don't understand.
We've never seen them.
Okay,
I
yeah.
have no idea
No.
who the council is.
Like I understand you
It's
got to
the-
save money.
I think it's only the second time they've maybe even mentioned the council, and only in these sort of scenes where
Right.
the only
Right now.
logistics you get or mechanisms of this world is through these couple scenes where you're like, oh, is that how the government works? I thought it was just Tate, but apparently there's a council. What does the council look like? How does it operate? We don't know.
They're
knows?
paying all these British stuntmen to get beat up by an old guy in a bar. Can we not get some B-list actors
Nope.
just to sit at a table and be like, no, grumble.
Or
Like,
the council.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the council, as far as I can tell, it's the president, it's
Yeah.
Julius, and it's Stella. That's,
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
I think
President, you're
Tipper's
safe.
on it. Tipper's communications, right?
No, Tipper's not.
He's not
No,
the
he's
Goebbels
fighting the
of
man.
whole situation.
He
He's
fights the man.
Oh, right,
From his
right.
pirate radio station.
Pirate
He'd never
radio
join
station.
that council.
All right. I don't understand the show at all.
That's fine. No one does. That's the problem. Anyway, Julius also, because he's so excited about like this power, he wants to send Jack out to find those diamonds, and Jack's really excited to do it. Jack, the XP, is just like,
Oh,
yeah,
he's the worst.
I want to.
They've made him worse somehow. This character.
He's become more cartoonish than Julius somehow.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I want to go find those diamonds too because it's better to own the diamond mine than work it.
Perfect
Which
sense.
is
Yeah.
realizable. And then Julius is like, that's not what this is about, Jack. What you got to know is knowledge is power. And Jack says, no, diamonds are power. And I'm like, and they're like insane.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of scenes. There's a lot of scenes like that too, because they want to show that, as we're going to learn, Julius has got an end game. We don't really know what the end game is, but is this ruining it that we're going to find he's making transmissions
At
to...
the end of the episode is the big reveal.
Yeah, that he's making transmissions to some sort of ship that is in the area, if not directly in the orbit of the planet. We don't know. We don't know who they are, but he is clearly trying to get the military, let's say for lack of term, the XPs on his side so that he will have this might to go with whatever charisma he already pulled people into his...
Yeah, this is brand new information. He's got a secret computer. He's talking to some sort of spaceship on its way here, and he's promising them Fort Haven will be pacified by the time they get here.
Mm-hmm. And they're number 10. And the original guys are number 9, AT-10 or whatever. The ship is the next. It's the next ship in line.
It's the next okay.
But don't you think his plan up to this point seems to have been a long game, even though the way they present it is, I want to be on the council, I want to do these things. But like, let's say he wants to be on the council. That's not to change things immediately, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand if his plan makes sense to an oncoming invasion.
When he was introduced, it felt like a long con.
Right.
And now that it's been revealed, it feels like he has about 3 weeks to figure this shit out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So feels like he's in a real hurry to get this done. We'll leave that. That's like the button to both these episodes is like he keeps calling the ship and promising them everything's going to be cool when they get here, even though there's no indication that's true.
Right.
Also, no indication why it wouldn't be cool for another ship to arrive, and like it's just like it doesn't make any sense like what the problem would be.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is they don't have any idea what's going on Earth. Like
yes, we don't know either.
5-year trip, but communication is terrible.
Someone asked, and the answer was, it's bad there.
Bad stuff, yeah.
And they didn't provide any further information.
Right. Okay. That doesn't sound like this show at all.
But I do want to point out, Jordan, to tie this back to Earth 2. Do you remember the character who also had a secret computer,
yes,
who was wandering around with the group, calling up to the secret other government who was waiting to do something on this planet?
It's gotten to the point where this show and Earth 2 have so many similarities. It feels like this show is cribbing from Earth 2. And I'll say, Earth 2 was not a great show to crib from to begin with, but there's so many parallels. It's bizarre.
And it's just so funny how much better it makes Earth 2 look.
I know. It really does. Earth 2 was not a very good show, and I'm like, wow, Earth 2 was amazing compared to this.
Geniuses wrote that show. Anyway, let's get back to what's happening. So Jack wants those diamonds. Julius wants him to go find them. So Jack's going to go out and look for Cassia and Floor, quote unquote. But as he's going to leave, Stella's like, hey, I want to come with you too because I heard they're going to the ocean and I want to see the ocean because I'm obsessed with the fact that if there are cavemen who once lived on Carpathia, they must have come out of the ocean. So her basic thing is like, I really need to see this ocean because I'm a scientist.
It's 2060 though. Cave people.
Cave people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't know. They don't know if it's some sort of primate of some sense.
Mm-hmm. A hominid, they call it.
Yes.
So walking upright at least.
Yeah. But her whole motivation is she needs to see this ocean because she's a scientist, and oceans are where life comes from.
I thought she's a doctor.
She's everything.
She's also a scientist.
She also runs protection and security. She's the head of.
She's the head of S&P.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's the chief.
Can I mention another little nitpicky thing? So we are going to see when we do see the fossils of the whatever
cavemen they find on the
whatever
beach,
they may be,
the promised bodies.
Where they find them is on the coast with the water rushing all over them. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to allow that the diamonds have been eroded into a shape, those fossils are done. They've been eroded.
Tens of 1,000 years old, these fossils. Water's just washing over them.
Yeah.
This family, because
why couldn't they have been in a cave? Like no one in the room was like, guys, put it in a cave.
Well, I thought it'd be in the rocks. She's going through all these rocks.
No, they're just sitting on the beach.
And that's not how fossils work. Those are skeletons. Like that's
they're
not.
Full, I know they're full skeletons.
They're full skeletons. Like that just happened.
This is really jumping ahead for her story, but like when she finally gets to the beach and finally finds these skeletons she came to find, I don't know how she knew.
There's no story. They just end up. They just walk.
No,
they walk and get there.
Her whole arc of that episode is she walks there because she wants to find life there.
Yes.
She finds a family of Neanderthal skeletons.
Yeah.
She's like, it's a family. Look, mom, dad, kid, and then she's just like, I wish I had a better relationship with my daughter. Let's go home.
Yeah.
Well, it's like she's sentimental when it suits her, but as a scientist, as a doctor, as a political figure, as whatever she is, bring at least one of those skeletons home.
Well, Jack's like, you want me to carry one of these back for you? She's like, no, they're a family. They should be together in the ocean.
Well,
it's like, yeah, bring them together in the lab.
Yeah, can't they take a picture? That's what I thought of me. It was like, don't you have...
They take no
cameras?
record. They just walk away.
Like, it's insane.
Anyway, their whole trip is they Jack and Stella do a long walk to the beach. They get attacked by some ACs at some point who are able to snipe one of the XPs who are with them. They only brought one other guy to get killed. Like as soon as you saw that third guy, he's like, well, he's dead.
Yeah,
He's
he's
a
not
red
on the
shirt.
list of
Of
my IMDb,
characters.
so yeah, he's done.
But like these ACs snipe this man perfectly in the middle of this field where there's no cover. Cannot hit any of the other characters somehow. And then they just like the other characters just fire guns wildly, and the ACs run away.
Well, it is a shame because that one scene, that moment, I was like, that was really well done. That guy getting shot, it looked good.
was
It
a
was
good-
an effective scene. But then they're just like, yeah, anyways, everyone else is okay.
Yeah. Don't worry. The ACs are afraid of gunfire for some reason. They ran away.
Yeah.
Jack did tell Stella to run Serpentine, which I enjoyed,
That is
and
true.
then she did not.
I
Crawled
also noticed she
straight
didn't.
to the rock. It was just like, Serpentine, move!
And their journey is just them wandering, chatting. At some point, they're walking, and like they walk into a swarm of bugs, which is the first time we've seen bugs on this
Yeah.
planet. And it's so funny because they're basically black flies, essentially, is what Jack says. He's like, I get bit by them all the time. He laughs it up when Stella gets bit by her first bug. He's like, you've never been bit by a bug because you never leave Fort Haven. Then he gets bit by a bug, has a allergic reaction so severe they pull the arm of his shirt up, and it looks like there's just like his veins are exploding out of his arm.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much gore on this like infection that's happening on him.
It looks like a horrible poisonous spider bite.
Something terrible's happening. She pulls out a syringe of, I guess, I don't know, antihistamines or something.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
Injects him, and then they both have a good laugh about it.
She gets his knife and cuts out the stinger, and then basically gives him an EpiPen.
Yeah.
They do have a good laugh
Yeah.
about it.
Well, it's such a horrifying scene that I'm like, oh my god, what does this mean? And they're like, ha, can you believe that happened? And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wait,
Well,
this
again,
is it?
They want to show the journey is so perilous and it's such the stakes are so high, but they don't want to commit to that because they only want to give it one scene and everything is so fast. Like this for a show that is slow as this show is, the scenes are very, very fast. But it's just like they're like, yeah, oh, he's okay, he's hurt. No, he's okay. Anyways, moving on.
It's a terrible 1990s board game. It's like if you go this way, there are bugs, and this way is radiation, and it's just like, oh, okay, just take the straight path to the beach. Like it's fine, you know.
But who knows? Maybe that's the more incredibly important thing. These bugs, we'll find out in episode 10 or whatever.
Give Jack superpowers.
Yeah.
he's Spider-Man now.
well, I again thought that it might be not real.
right.
Right, like the diamonds, it was, or like the dog, it was
That's
a
more
bit
interesting.
of a hallucination where it's just like, oh, they're biting her but not affecting her, and it's biting him but affecting him, so it's some sort of
And I mean,
psychosis or something, but
And
nothing.
maybe that's what they'll reveal in 3 episodes. I don't know, but like it was just scenes that happen. They finally get to the beach, so Stella and Cass can be rescued, and they see the skeletons, blah blah blah, and then they just head home.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the episode.
Yeah. It's a bunch of ideas loosely tied together to no real effect at the end.
So much sort of happens in a way, but none of it like makes any sense. Like none of it makes any sense within what we know of the show.
And let me just say, and Steve, you don't know this, but this is Luke, correct me if I'm wrong. This is our second of I think 3 episodes because the next one's gonna have the same thing, which is a character shows up just for like 1 episode because they don't have barely enough characters, and then they'll just leave. But not only that, they sort of just like show up to the gate, stumbling to the gate, and then people run out. Like that happens every episode now. A mysterious finger stumbles into the city, and then stuff happens, and they go away, and then we reset to 0, except for serialized elements that you're not that interested in.
right.
just tease, but then they're so teased that you don't like. It's just like I learned a little bit more about ghosts, but I still don't know anything.
But like that's the thing. Like, I wrote down some of the storylines that are serialized. There's Cass and Fleur love story, Stella and Lily's reconciliation, Tate's ghosts, the AC's plights of them being off in the wilderness, Julius's political ambitions, and so on, so on. Like the thing with all of these is they don't really like the sum of their parts don't add up to something greater. You just have a bunch of plots that aren't that interesting, and like I refer to it as a turd sandwich where you just keep adding more turds.
Well, it's because no episode is about one of those things.
Right.
They're mentioned throughout an episode, but no episode is like, at the end of this episode, we're going to do a reveal that expands this mystery. Like now the mystery is solved, but it's opened up a new door. Like that's what you would do on like a
good
Lost
show?
or something. Yeah.
Right.
Is that you'd be like, what's in this vault? And you finally get in and you're like, oh, it's not what we expected. But what we find out is it means something else. Like, but this show's just like, there are ghosts. There are ghosts. There are ghosts. There are ghosts. Like, what does it mean? It's like, don't worry.
yeah.
They're ghosts.
We already told you there's ghosts.
Well, again, I was looking for something somewhere that maybe there was temporal things going on because
Maybe,
the time crazy,
maybe.
yeah, well, because maybe the radiation has to do with time anomalies because they sent down Tigger 99 and he
That's
immediately
the
got
dumbest name ever.
They're really mean to these ACs to give them names like that.
I thought it was a dog at first.
Do you
I
think
thought
there
the
was
dog was sent down?
98 previous Tiggers that are like, hey, you dummy, you're Tigger 99?
I don't know. That was very funny to me.
Yeah, I thought something was going to be revealed to give you concrete movement forward, and there
Feel
wasn't.
some momentum, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's none.
There was
There's
just
none.
like the dog walking in behind a rock and then not coming out. I was like, oh, that's a cool shot, but it didn't mean anything.
The show looks good.
Yeah, next time on Outcasts, something completely different. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
can you believe
okay.
it? There was a golden retriever. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
Episode 6.
Here is the IMDb summary for episode 6.
Don't worry, don't speak. Right, we know what happened. It's okay.
How do you know?
Joe Ciota told us. About the AC attack, about what happened to all of you. Don't you worry about it. We're going to deal with it, all right?
There were no ACs.
What do you mean?
Josie attacked us. She's trying to kill us both.
The mystery surrounding 3 missing expeditionaries only deepens when one of them returns to Fort Haven.
Ugh. You know what? No. You know what? I take back my side because that's exactly what this piece of crap episode is. And I'm going to say right off the bat, this is my least favorite episode of all the episodes so far. And maybe it's unjustifiably so, but I hated it. And I hated everything I don't like about this show. And there's things I like about this show. I've said it before. I really like the actors. I like the look of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Other things that I can't think of now. But there's things I like. I like the general idea of the show. It's just the way it's executed I don't always like. But this show's tell and no show drives me crazy, and this episode is the worst for it. Like, even the beginning, you're going to find out there's people on a mission, and they've gone missing, but you're just going to hear about it.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I don't care about these people. I don't know who they are. I'm not going to see them till they're dead, so it's like, who cares? Why do I care about this plot at all?
This whole show is a walk and talk with a series of couples. Like, that's it.
Well, they don't know what they want to be. Do you want to be the West Wing? Is that what you want to be?
Yeah.
But they don't want to put the time in for that. Do you want to be Battlestar Galactica? Well, they don't want to do that. Do you want to be Star Trek? They don't really want to do that. So, like, we'll just take pieces of all these shows that you like, and the veneer and the look of it is of this really good show. But once you start watching it, you're like, oh, the writing's bad. That's the main problem, is the writing's bad. Everyone's trying, but the writing's just bad.
And British television has money. Like they
there's
usually
it's
make
not
good
about
stuff.
money.
So
There's
what-
clearly
This show is
money.
not about money. This show has the money. It's the writing is bad.
So why not show us the Black Ops mission where they maybe got attacked?
There needs to
something
be
happened.
more scenes with Stella walking around.
But yeah, that's it. We start off, it's a search party looking for 3 missing XPs. One of them, we learn, has a whole family of kids.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has a pregnant wife. And the third one has a nothing, I guess?
Yeah.
I think he was the guy that
Well,
got
no.
shot last week.
What it is if he doesn't have a family, he has nothing. So don't even talk about it. Like, he has a dog. Who cares?
Because we don't meet them really at first.
No.
So we just kind of get this explanation for who they are. And apparently the XPs who are still alive, they're all searching the wilderness. And there's this weird scene at the top. They're like looking everywhere. It's like huge search parties. And they start seeing flares going off. They're like, oh, that's their flare over there. And then it's too far away. It couldn't possibly be them. And then further away, there's another one that goes off. And they're like, oh, but maybe that's their flare. Like, that's definitely their emergency flare.
Oh no, they know it's their flare. They've
Well, yeah.
identified
Well, what's weird
it.
about-
But I don't know what it didn't mean anything.
No.
No, because what I think they're trying to say is, like, they're looking for this group. They assume the group is together. They see a flare after days of looking. They go, that's where they might be. They go over where the flare is, and no one's there. Then they see another flare go off, and they go, let's run over there. And they go over there, and there's no flare there. So I would think, well, one, people could separate. So their flares could be in 2 different areas.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, but they cannot figure that out. But what I would think is, well, someone's screwing with me. Something's funny here, because if we keep seeing the flare and there's no one there, something hinky's happening. But they were like, huh. Anyways.
But I mean, and then that's the thing. That's the mystery that's set up. It's like, why are all these flares going off? Where are the people? They never answer that question.
No. Well, at one point, Cass gets teamed up with Jack. Let's just jump ahead to that.
Yeah.
And Cass says to him, you know what you call a flare in one zone followed by a flare in immediate opposite zone? And then nobody answers that question. And it's like, yeah, you call it a trap. Somebody say the word trap.
Yeah, that's
but
the thing.
they
You would
don't.
think this whole thing is going to be a tightening of a noose on these people. Like, these people went out exploring, got captured in some way, and now they're being used as bait
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they can get the rest of the XPs, which would make sense because they send out everyone For what? The only this time. Every time else.
Most people we've ever
Yeah.
seen.
yeah.
But then
New
it's
record.
Like, to what effect? None.
None. There's never an explanation for these random flares going off with nobody at them. They truly doesn't even make sense in the episode itself.
But it doesn't make any sense. They're able to identify the flares
By sight.
by sight and be like, "Oh no, that's Julie's flare."
That's
And it's
clearly-
Yeah, I know.
that's clearly
Well,
Josie's
I
flare.
wasn't sure if they were like color coordinated, but they're just
Both
flares.
just red flares.
no, insane.
Anyway, this is going on. One of these missing XPs, Josie, just wanders back into town of her own accord. And
She stumbles into the front as every character that we learn stumbles to the gate.
The first episode started with that one guy walking in, and
Yeah.
since then we love to go
Every
back to it.
episode, they just, I'm injured, and then someone's like, yeah, I guess we'll open the door.
And she explains that while they were out on this on their journey, the ACs attacked them in the wilderness, and she's the only one who got away. And she's very excited to be reunited with her children, who of course are just like, "Mommy's acting weird."
Yeah.
Yeah. And on a separate note, when she saluted, like she got in, she's like, and she salutes and she's like, I was just like, give me a break. I don't know why that bothered me so much. I'm like, oh, you're so tough. You saluted.
No, immediately was like, something is up here.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's very funny because she comes back, meets her kids, and we're like the music and everyone's like sideways glances tells us something's wrong with Josie. But my favorite part is she comes back. She's been beaten up. She's been out in the woods. She goes to lay down in bed, and to drive home that something weird's happening, her son says, "Mummy doesn't usually take naps."
yeah.
I was like,
doesn't sleep during the day.
Mummy doesn't usually get attacked by people either.
Yeah, it was just like, I'm like, that's not a good example of what's weird about her, you guys.
Mom doesn't sleep during the day because she's taking care of you three monsters.
Yeah.
Like,
I had a note though that when she comes and she gives her a big explanation about how she got attacked and stuff. I wrote, it's boring because this is TV. I'd rather see it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't want to hear people tell stories of interesting shows that I'm not watching.
yeah.
And the mystery deepens when she goes to have dinner with her kids, but she can't remember what the prayer is. They're like,
their house prayer.
"Mommy, you forgot to say the house prayer." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah.
Again, though.
You do."
And this is a nitpicky point, but so little effort is given into what this religion is. So all the prayers are these weird generic, like if we just came up with right now, like, I pray to the ceiling god. It's like, what is this? It's like, are you ad-libbing it?
Oh, I thought that was their, like, I call it their house prayer because I thought it was just the family. That was their, like, they just did that.
Theirs felt like a little bit jokey, too.
Yeah.
Because it was like, "Thanks for the food, wink."
They said,
Something.
like,
It was weird.
it's like, God damn it, let's eat or something.
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
like they cursed in the middle of it or
Yeah,
something.
it was like a funny prayer.
Yeah. So, but even that was weird.
But let me just say, I know this is only plot one, and we're going to also have a plot about a lady having a baby and other things. I'm making it now. Stella is in every scene, and in every plot line, and it doesn't make sense.
She's all over.
Impossibly so. I
Impossibly
agree.
so.
She's driving the one vehicle.
Like literally, someone having a baby, she's with the scene, and then next scene she'll be talking to Tate, and then she'll be outside. I'm like, guys,
She's literally in a medical emergency
Yeah,
at one point, and then also wandering around talking to people.
yeah.
Also never washes her hands. Gross.
Gross. At any rate, so this is the big mystery. It's like, who is this lady? Not who she says she
I was like,
is?
yes,
Obviously.
she clearly is because she's obvious, and there's
Because
nothing
the
interesting
music
about it.
tells me it's
Yeah.
true.
No.
At any rate, at this point, Jack and his XPs do manage to find a second one of these missing XPs, and he immediately explains that the ACs did not attack them when they were out in the wilderness. Josie, in fact, murdered one of them and then attacked the other one.
Did you feel this was a little unfair because they immediately go, yes, white man, I'm going to listen to you, but not listen to the white woman. I mean, they immediately arrest her. They don't like bring them both in a room and go, guys, there's little inconsistencies here.
It was very funny because he's like, Josie attacked us, and so you're like, okay, well, they're gonna have to figure this out. But what they do is they storm her kitchen in the middle of dinner and drag her away at gunpoint in front of her children, who are they're just traumatized, just horribly traumatized.
Yeah, I know. Why didn't they just go?
We need to talk to you.
We need to talk to your mother in private. Take her into the hallway and go, look, we're going to be putting you into a cell, so we're going to have you, talk to your children for a couple of minutes. And it's just like, and this seems like a show where they would take the time to do that, but they just don't.
In a show where there's no action, they abruptly just do like the most like outlandishly version of the thing.
And manhandle the children.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
at
they're
one
just
point they've got the
tearing them
eldest in
off.
like a sleeper hold. She's passing out. It's incredible.
It is very funny. But on top of the mystery of who's this mysterious Josie character, there's another secret mystery underneath the layer of mystery, in that the XPs really won't talk about what they were doing out on these three XPs. Everybody's asking, like, well, why were they out there? And Jack's always like, none of your business. I can send people out into the wilderness any way I want. And what we come to learn is Jack conspired with Julius, the evil preacher, to send three XPs on a black op to assassinate Rudy, the leader of the ACs.
Well, this is where you have a council meeting. You start the episode with a council meeting where they're sitting around being like, we need to kill the XPs. Everybody says
You're not
no.
wrong.
Jack explodes and says we need to, and then we have the secret operation.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
makes sense. But
no. We just find out via like whispers.
Well, what we do get is one scene, though, where Tate and Jack sort of have a somewhat tense conversation argument where he's like, you don't have the authority to do that. And Jack's like, yes, I do. And they go, okay.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, do they or
Does
don't
he?
they? Like,
No.
I don't know. And I still don't know the difference between the
S&Ps and the
all
DGs
the
Acronyms.
acronyms. I don't know the difference in any of them.
so many letters.
No, I know. So this is basically what it is. There was some secret mission Julius did off the books to kill Rudy and basically, I don't know, start a civil war with the ACs or whatever. Who knows? It doesn't make any sense.
And the problem is there are no books. No one is
Yeah,
keeping
no one
books
would
on
know.
anything in this town.
But to complicate this and make it even more confusing, so these three were sent out to kill Rudy, the AC.
Mm-hmm.
Before they got there, Josie attacks and kills the other two, or attacks and kills one of them and hurts the other one. She comes back to town. So
Yeah.
the assassination mission never comes to any fruition. They don't get close.
Yeah.
It never happens. But we cut to Rudy, the AC, with all his AC gang around him, and he's like, hey, we got to get him back for trying to assassinate me. I'm sending my two best assassins to break into Fort Haven to assassinate Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, what?
What?
You don't know this happened. You have no information.
Yeah.
I thought at some point these guys they tried to exterminate them, right?
Years and years ago.
Okay, I thought that was the retribution he was seeking.
No, because they're after Jack specifically, but the retribution they don't like the president because the president made that call years ago. They have no particular qualm with Jack.
No, they're after Tate.
No, they're after the leader of the XPs.
Okay, so
Jack.
if you're listening now, go back and watch the episode and see who's right.
But here's the thing, because we can talk about this. The XPs or the ACs will come. The two assassins they send out who never speak. They're just like super sneaky.
Yeah.
They're able to break into the thing.
Into the apparently sand foundation of the.
Yeah, they
of
dig
the
under a
place.
wall.
You were talking about the impenetrable
Yeah.
security of.
I just
of
loved.
Fort
I loved
Haven.
it. They barely gave any effort. They're like, yeah, it's sand. That's what they dig. I'm like, what is this, Dune?
They'll knock the power out, and they'll go right after Jack. They don't go after anyone else. They're there to get Jack.
Interesting. Okay, I thought it was Tate.
No, that's what's so weird. It
Yeah.
should be Tate. Anyway, we'll keep going.
Okay.
So there's this.
Do we have to?
There's a second assassination now happening in the background. Whatever. Who cares? And while all of this is going on, and Stella is also busy with a million things, she also gets a call on a radio in her office, which I guess must be one of the XP radios. But the radio comes through, and it's just like, it's a woman's voice, and she's like, help me, I'm very badly hurt. Here are my coordinates. It's me, Josie.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I like is this is maybe one of the few things I liked about this episode because it reminded me of something that I always laugh at in movies. Like you have it a lot of times in movies and TV show where someone calls someone else and like, hey, meet me at 6th and 5th and the address is blah, blah, blah. And the person's always like, got it. And they remember it. Whereas if I was in that situation, someone told me something, I would have forgotten immediately and like, sorry, one more time. But at least in this episode, Josie gives Stella all the information she needs and she goes, and leaves. And then Tate goes, who called? She goes, it was Josie. And he goes, where did she say she was? She goes, oh yeah, I didn't pay attention.
Yeah. Did you record it? No.
No, I didn't pay attention. And I was like, at least that's
Accurate.
But it was funny that it would have actually been important to the show that she would have, grabbed a pen.
Well, and she's confused because obviously currently they have Stella locked up in a prison cell, or Stella has Josie locked up in a prison cell because she gets this call, immediately goes and looks in the prison cell, says, Josie is here, so who's calling me on the radio? And the president, when she tells the president about it, the president's like, hey, listen, I know it's weird, but ghosts are about, so maybe we want to look into this. And as you just said, she doesn't know where the coordinates were, but she knows exactly where to send Cass and Floor. She's like, Cass and Floor, go to exactly these coordinates in the middle of the wilderness where I got this call from.
Yeah, because they're running a little long. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also this weird thing, too, where, so they find out that maybe there's another Josie out there somewhere. Something weird's happened. The president already believes in the supernatural. So the president goes and visits these kids, and he's like, hey, kids, was your mom acting weird? Did you notice anything? And they're like, yes, very weird. And he's like, why don't I take the three of you to the prison with your evil doppelganger mom? Wouldn't that be fun? And I'm just like, why is he bringing the kids with him to see evil Josie?
Yeah, get him out of the house. That makes sense because if evil Josie does escape
that's what I thought he was
in the
gonna
next
do.
few minutes,
He brings them right to her cell.
yeah.
Well,
She'll never look for you here.
But they also didn't give the time to show, like, this plot is really a whole episode is what they should have allotted for it, of her impersonating someone or whatever it is, because we don't really
Evil
know.
Josie's out
Yeah,
there.
that she slowly starts revealing that she knows doesn't
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. But they just like, why didn't the mom do it? The mom has been horribly attacked and she's injured and she's been starving out the wilderness. She comes back and they're like, she usually finishes her second portion. She's acting weird. It's like, well, that's not enough.
No, I know.
And also because we don't know this character, we don't know that she's acting weird because it could have been a character we've met before, so you know they're acting different. But as a viewer, you just have to have them go, yeah, they're acting different. How? Because
Don't worry, we told you.
We
It's
told
true.
you. And it's
Well,
like it just doesn't work.
Later on, at the end of the episode, no spoilers, the kids will be like, she wanted to know what love was. I'm like, well, there's a scene we could have watched.
Yeah,
and,
It is very funny. I mean, basically what happens now is Cass and Flora go out to look for this mysterious radio signal.
Yes.
And they get out there. They're like very poo-pooing. They're like, well, we already have her. Why are we out here looking for nothing? They don't find anything, even though we, the viewer, see that Josie is, in fact, injured, laying next to a rock where they're standing. And then
waving at them.
the AC assassins knock all the power off at Fort Haven. So they're like, oh, we got to get back and like help out with whatever this power outage is.
Mm-hmm.
But for no apparent reason, and we'll see this 2 scenes later, it's just like something you cut back and it's like, Cass left his water bottle on the rock when they left her in such a hurry.
Yeah.
It was like a thermos. I think it was soup.
Soup, yeah, like left a thermos of soup he brought
It was
with
a nice
him.
chowder.
Yeah.
And Josie gets it, drinks it, and she's like, all better.
Powers up.
So good Josie is now fine again. And this is where they go back. Cass and Flora rush back. They're like, oh, we got to deal with this power outage. The president's just like, get the XPs, get Jack. Let's like lock the city down and make sure everyone's okay. Cass and Flora, the only police officers who work here, go to visit. Jack is just like, I just got off shift and I'm in the middle of a card game. So can I finish my card game before we deal with this like new crisis? And Cass and Flora are both like, okay. And they sit down to watch the card game play out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you guys are in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah.
This is the best scene, though.
But it's a scene, so yeah, they can have a thing where they realize the people are crouching and
The
sneaking
assassins
up.
are
Yeah,
here.
they're
Yeah.
up behind him, and so Cass can be like, "Hey, what time is it? 12 o'clock or whatever." Like signal he gives to let him know that there's guys there.
Yeah,
There's
they-
a whole
counter ambush.
conversation between, like, in code,
Mhm.
not at all about poker, but that they're behind. Like,
Yeah, I'd
it's
be like,
so good.
I think they're giving signals to each other.
Yeah, it's
It
so.
is very funny. It is just like, but it's anyway. So it's going to be a counter ambush to counter the ambush the ACs are about to do on Jack, and they all jump up at the same time, and they just all start firing. They are 7 feet, 10
Yeah,
feet away
10
from each
feet
other.
maybe.
They are firing 25 bullets. One person gets shot. One person gets injured. All our heroes are on. I'm just like, you guys are point blank range.
Yeah.
Just firing wildly at each
And
other.
the 12-year-old CA, had an assault rifle, had like an automatic weapon.
Yeah.
He unfortunately brought blanks. That was the problem.
And it basically wraps up with they kill one of the ACs and they capture the other one, which I guess will probably come up in a future episode because it doesn't matter for the rest of this episode.
No, they throw.
Can I just mention one quick thing? And I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No, of course.
A lot of this can be solved by, couldn't they have just, when Josie came back and was acting weird and they heard 2 different stories, couldn't they have just put her in that little memory device?
Oh my god! Yeah, just put her in the DBV.
Solved. There you go. You find out if she's not Josie, she's not gonna have Josie's memories.
Problem solved.
Doesn't that solve the problem?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm done. I'm done for the day.
This is the issue with this society. They don't set anything up. You think you would have a system like, oh, you've just come in from the wilderness. We need to test you for radiation. Oh, you've got a weird story and you're acting weird. Okay, we're going to put you in the machine. We're going to see what happened. Like,
It's so loosey-goosey, that gateway.
Yeah.
Anyone can come and go.
it doesn't make any sense.
You can walk in with a pocket full of diamonds anytime you want.
Pocket full of diamonds. I love that old song.
Anyway, they stop this insane assassination attempt against Jack for whatever reason. And evil Josie, because the power's gone out, the cell doors are set to open when the power goes out, as you would
Of course.
for a cell door.
Built by Arkham.
Well, and he also says, Tate says later, because someone runs in, I think it's Stellan, like, or no, it's Julius, goes, what happens when the power goes out? And he goes, don't worry, all the integral parts of our society have generators, so there's, life support and all that.
Right.
I'm like, well, you would have it for prison cells, I'd assume, but no.
Not
they don't
prison.
consider that important.
And I guess because the president brought the kids to the jail, Josie breaks out and is able to, like, kidnap the children immediately.
Right, immediately snaps them up.
Why?
For love.
Well, that's what we'll find out later when they ask the kids, like, why did evil Josie take you? She gave them a quiz about what love's about. Hey, love, tell me about love.
But what? But why?
Because the planet's sentient and wants to learn about love, Jordan.
But why take them? Why not just integrate into society and learn it?
No, you got to give a little quiz, little multiple choice quiz.
Yeah.
Do you know how many or scenes you would actually have to show if that was the case?
It's much easier to tell.
Yeah.
Much easier to tell that, Mommy, that evil mommy asked us what love was, and we said it was nice, and she left.
Yeah.
You know that type of thing where they show two actors that are the same actor, but they're playing two different characters in the same scene? Couldn't afford to do that.
Couldn't afford to do that.
Well, I mean, that's what we're gonna say is like, if we haven't teased it about like she's a double. She's a doppelganger.
Yeah, there's evil Josie and there's good
and
Josie.
Like, but are you gonna get any of those scenes? Like we even got in Quark, where you get the two of them like at a scene facing off. That's not what they want this show to be, and I think to its detriment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At any rate, what happens is good Josie wanders back into Fort Haven, but of course, since the evil Josie just left, everybody pulls a gun on her and like she's just like, I've been lost in the wilderness for days, and I heard people trying to find me, but no one found me, and I'm finally back. And they're like, get on the ground or we'll blow your brains out.
Yeah.
She didn't salute. That's what fucking happened.
That's what happened. Yeah. She didn't thank for her service. Anyways.
At any rate, they throw her in a cell, and there's like a big scene. I guess XPs have their separate jail system.
Sure.
Whatever.
Chicken wire.
And like Jack's really interrogating her, and she's like, I'm telling you, I was in the woods, and I heard this man and woman come looking for me, but they didn't find me. And this is enough for Cass to be like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe that was me and Floor. Maybe she is telling the truth about being a doppelganger who came back suddenly.
Where's my soup?
Did you find my soup? Was it minestrone? You are telling the truth. It was such a stretch. At any rate, Cass is like, okay, I believe she's telling the truth, so I'm going to break her. So he pulls his gun and is like, I'm breaking her out of prison now. And he breaks good Josie out because he believes her for some reason.
Which isn't really in his character. Because we've seen now at least 3 times where
he always does status quo.
He does the status quo. He does whatever the government has essentially told him to do,
Well,
regardless.
Tate does tell him to break her out.
Yeah, Tate does give him the go ahead.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
Tate does give him the go ahead.
Right?
Yeah, Tate's like, well, if she said you saw her before, ghosts, so you got to get out of there.
This whole episode, Liam Cunningham just like sits back in a chair and is like, ghosts.
Ghosts?
Yeah.
Let's move forward, everyone. Anyway, they break her out. So funny because he's like, Josie, if you were to take your kids anywhere on a nice field trip, where would you go? And she's like, oh, we always go picnic outside the wall. And he's like, let's go there. And then you cut, and they're like wandering through the wilderness. And she's just like, hey, by the way, you never mentioned why you're so jumpy, and like you keep pulling out your gun. Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, yeah, I forgot to say. Your evil doppelganger's on the loose. And she's like, excuse me?
Yeah, he's like, anyway, I know, wasn't that odd that they hadn't told her the whole time? They went and they're...
Cass and her have been walking forever to find her kids and hasn't mentioned that an evil doppelganger has stolen them.
Yeah. Which also, why would they have gone to the point where the picnic is the doppelganger doesn't know about it?
The kids actually run away from the doppelganger and then hide out. That's my understanding.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
I got very confused midway through this episode.
I think the oldest one was like, okay, we're outside the walls. We'll hide here.
I see.
Did you have a place that you designated with your parents where you'd go to if you were abducted?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, me neither.
You have your breakout bag in your zombie apocalypse location?
If an evil doppelganger of me comes to try to get you, what you need to do is run outside of the house and hide in the woods. I'll come find you.
Yeah.
The dog's name is Wolfie. Remember. Which I actually thought was going to happen. When she was like one-legging it back to town, I thought, we got this badass army woman.
Yeah.
She's going to come back, find her evil doppelganger with her children, and fucking kill her. And it's going to be an awesome action moment.
No, what happens is they get to the rock where they have the picnics. The kids just appear out of nowhere and just run up to their mom. They're like, Mommy, it's you. You're not evil. You're the good one. And they're like, oh, why did she kidnap you? She wanted to learn about love. Cool. And then Jack appears with all his armed men. He's just like, Josie, you're under arrest. You killed all my men. I'm gonna.
Yeah, and Cass be like, no, it's not her. There's clearly 2 of them. And then he's like, and to make my point, here she is showing up just conveniently.
Finally, we get the scene where we see them both in the same shot, and the evil one just steps up on top of a rock above them and doesn't say anything. She just stands there for a second.
Hi-oh, and then she leaves.
And Jack's just looks at both of them and he says, but which one's the real one?
Yeah.
And the little boy, the 6-year-old boy, looks up and says, this one's the real one, dummy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's supposed to be a joke, but the music is so like hard driving intensity. I'm like, did you guys throw a joke in here that I'm supposed to get? And then like the doppelganger just turns around, walks away, and Cass is like, well, let's all pretend this never happened.
Yeah, end of scene. Not a pursue. Like nothing.
No. That's the thing. They just go like, all right, she's gone. I guess we don't need to deal with this. It's like, but I think you do.
Yeah,
I think you do need to. And then we get a weird scene where, for some reason, Tate's like, it never happened. Let's like suppress this
Let's
politically.
pretend it never happened.
But I don't understand to what end. Why? There's no political pressure that he has to do it. Why not say, guys, we have to make an announcement. Everyone be on the alert.
we
There's
need
people
security.
who are doubling people out here.
and then next week on something completely different.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and it's so funny too because I thought the same thing also about like there's this whole thing. Last episode was all about, hey, I want to make diamonds so that people don't trust each other and we have a big arguments and like this seems like Julia's whole plan is so discontent to take over the town and become the leader. And I'm just like
Discord.
Thank you. And then at this moment, I'm just like, oh well, this is it. Jack should grab a hold of this doppelganger thing because this is insanely scary. This is what you should be using. Jack doesn't seem to care one way or the other about doppelgangers.
Well, and it also doesn't play into the, as we mentioned before, the button scene, which is Julius calling up to the ship again, and he's like, "Hey, anyways, we've really got to kill these ACs. Everything's good." I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
Mm-hmm.
No, well, that's just it's so funny.
It wasn't like, guys, you might want to hold off for a bit. We've got doubles here now. It's gonna make some complications.
His final scene too is like so insane in that he goes to see the president and like he has been very cartoonish up till now, but like this show's still attempting to be somewhat subtle. But he walks in to see the president. He just walks in. He's just like, and he's like walks up to him. He's like, "We have to kill the ACs. We have to kill them all." And the president's just like, "Oh, is that why you did a secret mission behind my back to like kill Rudy?" And Julie says, "That's not what I'm here to talk about." He literally says, "That's not what I'm here to talk about," and storms off.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what was that?
Yeah. And you know what? The British villain on the American show works for me. The American villain on the British show, he's not pulling it off because the accent is not helping him out.
Yeah,
at
I think
all.
it's the writing's not helping him out.
Yeah, no, that's for
it's
sure. But
tough.
at least he sounded cool. You'd be like, okay.
And Jordan, you teased this and mentioned it, and I'm not going to spend much time with it, but there is a subplot where we mentioned one of the missing XP's wife is pregnant.
Yeah.
And as we know, there's a problem with people giving birth in Fort Haven.
Right.
So there's this whole subplot about how her giving birth to a baby is going to be very important, so Stella needs to focus all her energy on this birth being successful. And then halfway through the episode, they're like, complications. The mother might die or the baby might die. We can only choose one. And then there's like this whole moral thing where Julius is like, how can you play God? And she's just like, well, I need to pick what's good for the town.
Spot on.
Dead on impression. And Isla's not paying the most attention to this. And I literally thought, because there's a whole medical sequence that's happening where it's like, we're not going to be able to save them both. And then we cut to the end of the episode, and the mom's holding the baby.
Yep, saved them both.
And I was like, oh, so you saved them both.
Yeah.
So there was no conflict at all here.
Well, this whole thing of the kids being super precious is kind of undermined by having 3
So
children.
many kids everywhere.
Well, my point was, who cares about the babies now? You guys can double the population with whatever's happening out in the desert.
Doppelgangers.
Just double everyone.
Yeah.
Done.
Everybody's got a double. You're
Yeah.
fine. You doubled your population overnight.
Oh, you lost a child, did you? Voila. Here's another one.
Yeah, you know, you think about like good no baby movies or no baby shows. You know, think Children of Men, right? Like there's a malaise, a discontent, a general grayness in the world with no children. And this, I don't get it. It's just fucking pirate radio and diamonds everywhere. Like,
yeah.
It is so funny because this pregnant woman at some point is just like, hey, Stella, why do you keep hovering over me nonstop 24/7 like my baby's important or something? I'm like, does the rest of society, have they not clued in?
No, because she says at one point, I know there hasn't been a lot of babies, and I'm having the first baby for a while, but no one has clued in how bad the population growth is.
Or they just don't care. It's so weird. It is so weird. I just can't get a sense of this world in any way, shape, or form.
There's no color in the world. There's no, minutia, right? There's no newspaper. There's nothing on the walls. It feels very hollow.
Well, the world building is quite bad.
Yeah.
In this show, to a surprising degree, because again, I think its intentions is to be nuanced and subtle, but it's not.
No.
And the world building is left to, well, the viewer will wait for it. We'll just mention it and figure it out later, but it's like, but as a viewer, you're just given nothing to grasp onto.
Right. Well, it's like the red cards, right? It was mentioned in one line in one episode. We never see anybody flash their ID or swipe
I've
in
never
anywhere.
seen
or like,
a single person spend a dime in this town or discuss how they pay for
Well,
anything.
it's those things that don't seem like they're important, but when you realize they're lacking in a show, you realize how important these details are.
yeah. Well, you think Battlestar Galactica, right? Everything that was square had cut corners on it. It was all beveled edges, and and there was just a little detail that somebody probably was like, "Oh, that'd be cool. We should do that." But they did it. They did it all the time, and so it created a look. And in this show, I don't.
Or it's like, and we
nothing.
mentioned, and I know we're going long, but why are there no vehicles?
Yeah.
Why?
I
There
know.
just aren't.
They just said you can't fly, but why? Yeah, you're right. Why can't you have a go-kart? You've never said. Are we going to find out? It's like, oh, go-karts don't work here like planes. It's like, but why?
Well, there's space travel.
Well, that's
Once you establish space travel and
It's because they just need characters walking in hallways. That's all.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, we need people walking, so
and in Wales, is it Welsh? Are they shooting in Wales?
I don't know where they're
I think
shooting.
they might be in South Africa, perhaps.
Really?
I vaguely think I looked at this at some point and they shot it like in South Africa, but I could be wrong. I
Right,
could be
right.
wrong. That was my impression on it. I know we've harped on this long enough, and we'll get to the ratings. I just want to note one more thing about just the insanity of this show, is that in these 2 episodes, basically, we've now established mysterious doppelgangers coming out, ghosts or invisible dogs. Like, this is existing here, and we also know like there are caveman skeletons and diamonds and all those things. There's a moment at the end of one of these episodes where Stella and the president sit down to theorize what's happening, and their theory they get to was baffling to me. They're like, well, based on everything we've learned, I think we can safely say the planet killed those cavemen. And I was just like, how on earth did you get to that conclusion?
It'd have been funnier if you saw the skeleton, one's clearly holding a knife, and there's like a hole in the other one's skull. They're like, it's clearly the planet that did it. Case closed.
It was just so wild to me. I was like, is that where this is headed? It's the planet that killed the sentient life on it? I just thought this, at this point, I was just like, the planet's alive and it's just creating these things. But no. Apparently the planet is killing the Neanderthal. It does, it's crazy, this show.
Unrelated, it was shot in South Africa.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Good call.
All right, well, let's get to ratings, you guys. Let's start with episode 5. Steve, why don't you start us off?
You know what? Can I defer and get to Jordan, because I just don't know where the ratings are for this show. Where have you guys been?
Well, that's part of the fun. That's why we like to make you go first.
Okay. Sorry, I won't mess with the system.
Because it's your personal opinion.
Look, coming in episode 5, when I watched it, I was like, this is cool. I don't know. I don't understand anything. Maybe they'll tell me something. And it sounds like they tell you nothing about anything for every episode. It looks great, and it has amazing actors, and half the fun is just being, I know that person from that thing. So
Yeah, the casting director did a great job.
Yeah. So
Give them an award.
out of 10, right? 10 diamonds.
10 diamonds.
Yeah, it's 10
So
diamonds.
out of 10 diamonds, I'm gonna give this like a 6.5 diamonds.
6.5.
It's totally watchable. Just episode 5. Do not watch episode 1 through 4. Do not watch episode 6. In a vacuum, 5 is totally reasonable.
Luke, what do you think?
And very funnily, in some ways, I agree with you. Is that episode 5 is better than previous episodes in some ways, though still suffering from every single fault. But because that actor they got to play Patrick Baxter, short for Patrick Baxter,
It's not Pax for some reason.
Yeah. No.
Or Bax.
He's great. He's doing a great job here. They really layer on the mysteries, and none of it adds up. And you spend any time with it at all. But it's still better. But I don't know. It's still a problem. I'm gonna go 4.5.
Yeah, my ratings will be dropping dramatically at this point because I've given this show the benefit of the doubt, and I think I've been, in some ways,
You're very much where Steve is now. You were there at the beginning,
and I'm just getting tired of that. They're just not answering anything, and I've realized is there isn't a real Bible for this. I don't think they know where they're going, and I think they think we'll just tie this together eventually, and it's annoying me. 3 out of 10.
Oh.
All right, Steve. What about episode 6?
Episode 6. So we're out of diamonds now.
We're
What
out
do
of
we got?
diamonds.
We got
We're now
doppelgangers.
doppelganging.
Okay, so
Is there 10 doppelgangers?
10 doppelgangers.
So it's actually only 5.
no 10 extra doppelgangers.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, okay.
20. It's
I
20
see.
people. No, this one sucks. Because they missed every opportunity. So I'm gonna say 3 doppelgangers out of 10.
How do you ruin a doppelganger episode? Honestly,
You tell, you don't show.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having a doppelganger episode and not putting them together?
It is
Unbelievable.
You get it for a quarter second at the end of the episode.
But
it's crazy.
the back doppelganger is so out of focus.
I
They
know.
might rack focus in
It's just,
scene.
it's just she comes and she like farts and then walks away, and they're like, "Mom wouldn't do that." It's like it's the worst thing ever.
I would argue they might not have even actually done a true doppelganger shot, because I believe when they shoot her up top, they cut out the head of the actress
Yeah.
below it. So I don't even think they ever actually did a split screen.
No, they didn't.
They didn't give her a mustache or anything.
It's a bad episode.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's all tell, no show. And then even when there is action, it's either her getting arrested in a way that makes no sense in front of her children, like it's an overreaction, or it's when the ACs try to assassinate Jack, and you're just like, okay, well, everyone's dead. Everyone's dead now, but they don't know how to stage action either. I'm going to go a 2 for this
Oof.
one.
I'm still gonna go lower than that. I hated this episode. I had to watch this in. Honestly, I was checking the time on it every 5 minutes and going, "There's no way this is how time is moving." I mean, I was having my own weird planet thing happening because it's just like, there's no way time could work like this. 1 out of 10. I
One
hated this
doppelganger.
episode.
One doppelganger.
Is that just one doppelganger? Just one person? They don't even get a doppelganger.
It's one person. They haven't even found their doppelganger. That's how bad it is.
Not even a split screen shot for that one.
Well, that one was rated 1, 2, and 3.
Yikes.
Pretty rough going for
It's
the old
honestly,
Outcasts.
they can't get worse than this. That episode has to be the low watermark, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Here's the thing. The next 2 episodes are the conclusion of the season. They must reveal something about what's happening on the show, right?
Well, it's a weird thing because there's interesting ideas. The ideas that the planet is maybe manifesting people's memories as corporeal forms. Okay, there's something interesting there. The planet might be trying to kill them through its own natural disasters. Okay, there's something interesting there. They've sent off some people off to the wilderness because they are genetically modified and they don't consider them as real
Subhumans,
humans.
yeah.
They're subhumans. There's something interesting there. It's the way they go about everything. They're like, what's the least interesting way we can tell this story? And every time it's like they're batting,
nail it.
they're
They
batting
nail it
1,000
every
every time.
Well, listen, not to spoil anything, Dragsters, if you haven't watched 7 and 8.
Dragsters, I forgot.
But we're getting double Liam Cunningham.
Is he coming?
Next week on, we saw a quick
Oh, is
shot
that
of
right?
a double Liam
I never
Cunningham.
watched what's coming.
I turned it
Oh.
off so fast.
Okay.
These shows are a full hour long, and I'm
guys are
happy
out
to
the
cut
door.
a little early.
I hit
watched it.
stop on the thing and then looked in the mirror to see how much I'd aged watching.
I might watch 7 and 8 for my own enjoyment.
Just to see.
Just to see what the hell happens.
Do you
So-
think, though, just watching 8 will be like amazing? They'll just wrap everything up?
Here's the thing, and we've already said this on the podcast, but this is going to be an Inhuman situation where it's a season 1 that is essentially a pilot for a more interesting season.
Yeah, the arrival of D10 or whatever.
Whatever.
Which this could have just been, and I think you're right, this should just be the backstory that the viewer doesn't really need to see, but that the writers have figured out,
Right.
so that everything else makes sense for what the actual show is. And you could pepper these things in along to do the world building, but this is not a season
Yeah.
of television.
No, you could probably cut this into, maybe it's a feature length pilot, but
Yeah.
this 6 hours of TV is a pilot.
Yeah. Well, it would be nicer to be confused for 2 hours than for 8 hours or whatever.
You're right.
This episode is.
Honestly, like if all of this stuff had happened in 2 hours, you'd be really excited to see what the next episode
yeah,
was.
I was.
And,
episode
and
5.
again, we'll make the point. It looks good. The actors are good. The actual setting's interesting. It's the storytelling.
Yeah. I think of all the shows you've ever done, watch Man and Machine. But then if you don't watch Man and Machine, watch Outcasts. That's what I would say.
That was on the DVD. I don't know why you're watching this. You should be watching Man and the Machine. But if you're not watching Man and Machine, check out this one.
Check out Outcasts.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming back and joining us for this.
Absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
It was great having you this late in this series because it was nice to have an outside perspective. It was very good.
of an Outcast perspective.
Also, you can
on
see
Outcast.
Yeah, a real
how
Outcast.
angry we've gotten.
You guys sour after. Like, listen, you don't do good sci-fi shows. That's
tried.
not what this is.
We
We
tried.
tried.
This was my pick, and I really tried.
It was
I
close,
I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, this is a winner."
In
Yeah.
theory, I think in theory it looks like a winner.
but it failed for a reason.
Also, I gotta say, now that we've said it 3 times, but the title Outcasts, this show should be about the ACs.
Yes,
They're the
absolutely.
only outcasts on it, and they're barely a character.
Mm.
No one else is an outcast on the show. All right, that wraps it up. So, listener, You can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com if you have thoughts on stuff we do. I don't know. I think I said one time I'll post it on Instagram or Twitter or something. Maybe I will. I don't know. We've got a couple of nice emails recently from people who've been enjoying the show, so that's been nice to hear. Actually, some dragsters out there,
Nice.
who listen. I'm not gonna call them fans because I don't think they are. They listen.
They
anyway.
hate listen to the entire podcast.
Again, I think I made it before. I think they're in a coma somewhere, and someone has accidentally put this on, and they can't help but listen. I don't know how they're emailing, but
Well, their brains.
I don't think it's under their. I think they're under duress. They're listening.
They're under duress. And of course, on Instagram and Twitter, you'll see clips from this show. I was pulling them this morning, so you'll get some. You will get the only sort of doppelganger sequence. I think you'll get some gunfights that are too close to be gunfights, and I think I really like the part where it's just like, knowledge is power. No, diamonds are power.
There should also be maybe Lily just working at the bar.
Just rubbing that table, take out that cloth,
Yeah.
spitting in a cup, cleaning it out.
I wouldn't mind a cuddle gif.
A cuddle gift.
A cuddle gif on the rocks.
I'll see. It's
Cass and
I
Fleur.
looked at it. It's not actually that because it takes a long time to play out. So
That's
it's
right.
actually kind of a little dull, like the show itself. That wraps it up though for the episode. So, listener, thank you for joining us, and Jordan, I'll see you next week.
See you then.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rex Seidler. Produced by Jordan Dullock and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Hughes.